Okay, Dave, so looks like we've hit underneath the back deck. Looks like a really good construction here with galvanised steel beams, which obviously prevent any termite damage, obviously. They could conceal termite access still, so your termite management system would still be the same whether they're galvanised steel or whether they're timber. So
correct. Steel and galvanised beams on the decking won't prevent termites coming in and attacking the property, but it just reduces the potential extensive cost of repair.
Right, Dave, another one to look at is this footing here. The beauty of it is it could be exposed, this footing, but it looks like we've got a lot of, again, render slag over the top of the footing. It's going to take a little bit of work to clear all that off, but you know, to do a proper job, it's essential that we get rid of that slag on the footing.
Absolutely. It's pretty thin there, you can see that, and then it just builds up to a couple of inches, 6 or 7 inches thick there, so it's an odd sort of way to do it, but it could have been an old entry point or anything like that if this was the back of the house. But to get through that trench along, pretty difficult, convoluted job, or you can try and drill. Thicker areas maybe not. You run the risk of shattering and cracking the slag areas. Either way, out here...
It's pretty visual, isn't it, really? Like, the other option is to, I guess, keep that footing nice and clear and try and remove the slag off the top of the footing, and then possibly, if it's to stay that way, we could just have it as a visual zone and rely on the inspections in this area as well.
Absolutely. We've got an opportunity inside in the subfloor area where we can trench with a nice clean edge right along. So I think you're right, keeping that clean, having a visual aspect to it, having the barrier internally in the subfloor. Homeowner has pets, so we don't want to sort of put a risk for the pets and anything like that. So I think if we did that visual, nice clean line to inspect and a barrier in the subfloor.
We've entered the subfloor.
Yes.
And it looks like we've got a fair bit of headspace.
Yeah, it's a great subfloor for like clearance and space, but when you have a look around, a couple of really critical elements is obviously the homeowner stored goods. We also have evidence of dog activity, you can see that, so any sort of risk of pet poisoning, things like that, is high on the agenda. You don't want to have any incidents involving pets.
As we can see here, Dave, we've moved inside to the internal floor now, and it's timber bearers and joists, so it looks like this bearer is actually on some engaged piers. On the top of the engaged piers we have some cordon. It's a physical termite barrier that doesn't quite extend up to the ant cap.
Yes.
Luckily there is some ant cap, so we've got a little bit of a continuation of a physical barrier. It does give quite a good visual. I think with the cordon it would have been preferred to extend that underneath the ant capping. But in this situation it hasn't been, and also the beauty of it is that the bearer has been placed about 50 mil away from the wall.
There's a good gap,
so there is a good clearance for visual inspection there with an ant cap that extends across the top of that brick wall as well.
Even in between the bearers here, you've got a bit of a gap. You can feel that breeze. There's a nice breeze coming through here. Yes, the door's open, but there's good ventilation
points.
Single skin brick. You know, double brick is always hard. Single, look at the footings. You know, okay, there's a bit of stored good clutter, but there's really good visual aspect to this job.
So the next step to treat would be these piers. They're not engaged piers, obviously. They're exposed piers.
Yes.
But the footing is a little bit hard to access around this pier here.
Some of it's solid, and then some of it's crumbly. So the challenge we've got here to put a barrier, a trench around. One, we need to consider the pet bed and the animal occupancy, but also we've got this really massive slab of concrete which under the ground
conceals the access to the rear of that pier.
Absolutely. So what we were planning to do around the back, because we can't get a clean trench all the way around, we're looking at a soil injecting rod down the back and down the side here as well. And what we'll do around the front of the pier is we'll drill into the, this looks like it's homeowner concrete. Hasn't been professionally laid, so it's not going to be too thick, and hopefully it's not too thin that it crumbles and cracks. If we can clean out some of this dirt, we will around here, but I also don't want to make too much of a mess for the homeowner.
One other thing that works in our favour, I guess, would be the fact that these are all ant capped.
Correct.
and also that's treated timber.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a really good position to visually see if any termites are trying to get in this scenario. So on these piers, Dave, they all seem to be ant capped with the galvanised ant capping.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's a cordon underneath the ant capping, which I would prefer to see, but in this scenario I'd be confident that these ant caps will deter concealed termite access over time, and also with the treated timber bearers, it's a really good scenario.
Yeah,
for
it
visual.
looks good. Yeah, it's quite easy. It's a good visual job, this. Righto.
All right, Dave, so this is the internal side of the wall we were just looking at externally that's rendered outside.
Yes.
And it looks like we can get to the footing here internally.
Yes, I think we can, absolutely.
Yeah, so all the way along, it looks like there's a bit of clutter again, but
yeah,
as you say, it's pretty normal for a job like this.
Absolutely. Look, it's not dense clutter. It's things that can be easily moved away from the wall and the piers, and then we'll just go along again at about 150 to 200 mil centres, and just inject all the way along till we get up to the end wall again, and then if there's any issues with piering or anything like that, we can come back and retreat. But definitely definitely a rod injector and into the soil. When we use the soil injector, sometimes the liquid spurts up, things like that. They're typical signs you look for. So we get a nice barrier along there and right along to the end wall.
We've got great ventilation, as you can see. Again, this treated timber bearer is 50 mil away from the wall, so we can get a visual behind that. And if you look up a little bit further in there, you can see the ant capping that extends across and caps the top of the brickwork off, so that we can get a good visual zone, and that'll stop concealed access by termites through the brickwork. Looks like the builder has left us some presents in the subfloor, which is some old timber that's obviously termite food.
Yeah. So these are the old floorboards by the looks of it. You can see where they've been probably jammed in. The builder's done a great job in replacing the floor. The floor upstairs looks beautiful, but here's what the floor downstairs looks like. So we've got all this debris, we've got splintered timbers, things like that, solid pieces, all in contact with the ground. Moisture from the soil rises up into the timber. Timber then starts to delignify, so it starts to break down, becomes quite a magnet for termites, mould, wetness inside, easy to feed, great cellulose food source, and away you go, you've got a termite problem.